And my mom said something to me that was funny. I'll never forget it. She goes, "Hey, you're going to prison. They're all racist up there." I'm like, "Mom, I'm white."
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Stacks. I'm your host, Bill Stacks, and today I got Chris Curtis and Todd Bartos. Oh, so
Yeah,
you were
but that
like when the vans would come in?
Right.
Yeah.
Cleaning vehicles and stuff like that. So that's what I did for the last couple of years of my career.
It's uneventful, really, right?
Thank God. Yeah, I was over it by that point.
Well,
Between the politics that was going on, the allegations and everything. And, at that point, man, I was getting old too. I was like, look, man, I'm done playing the game. I'm tired of trying to be because there was a time when you wanted to be the first one in the fight. You wanted to be that guy, By that point, I didn't want to be that guy anymore. I was over it.
You're just like, I had enough, right?
Yeah, big time.
Last time we did a show, you talked about how black people didn't check the paperwork in the prison where you were at. So people got upset. Do you want to explain?
Yeah, that was a weird dynamic. I saw in the comment, because most of the comments were really, really cool, after we did that stuff. And there was a couple people that got upset by that. And dude, I'm just stating facts, man. I mean, sorry about your luck. It's just different politics and different social mores. It's not trying to be racist. It's just the reality of it. Black folks have this mentality in prison that the crime that you committed out on the streets, that's your business. I don't want to say they don't care, but if they don't take their people off the yard for it, it sends that message that they don't care, I mean, and again, I can sit there and make the same comment that, blacks are notorious for having the worst weapons in the world, man. They take like a pen and try to shove a plastic pen into somebody. You've got whites and Mexicans, making freaking bone crushers. And the reason I call them bone crushers because these weapons were like swords. When they went through you, they would literally rip and break bones that were going in. I mean, it was kind of a running joke that with the blacks, you could have a code 3, which is like the highest level of, the emergency status on a basketball court, 20 inmates involved. And you'd go, do you need medical assistance? No medical assistance, resume yard, whereas if it was whites or Mexicans, you'd have a 2-on-1 and they'd be asking for a helicopter, to life flight this guy out. So it's just, I mean, if somebody gets offended by that and their feelings are hurt, sorry about your luck, man. I'm short. People point out that I'm short. I can't get my feelings hurt over it. It is what it is, man.
Have you seen people in prison, Chris, with bad paperwork that skate by with bad paperwork?
It's happened, bro. It's happened. I'll tell you a funny story. This is at Old Corcoran. This is this is in like 1999, I think. I worked in the main kitchen at Old Corcoran. It's on level 4 yard, and I think a female staff member was assaulted by another inmate in another prison. This was CDC at the time, not CDCR. This is still CDC. CDC decided, okay, well, if somebody has a sex crime, they're not allowed to work around female staff. They're not allowed to work anywhere around female staff. You remember when this happened, Bartos?
Yeah.
So we're in front of work change. There's like 30, 40 people out there waiting to go behind the wall because you go like after chow, you get in front of work change and you wait, and then they send you through 2 at a time or whatever. And they come out with a list and they say, yeah, if we call your name off the list, you got a sex crime. You're not allowed to work back here no more.
So it puts people on blast in front of everybody.
Dude, they started just, and again, I mean, I hate to say this, but it was mostly blacks. They were just, walking away. And then there was a few, like one Mexican and I think one white dude, but it also fronted off all the dudes on the yard too. Like, you just don't know, like this is the thing about it. So if you got a guy that did a lot of time in Old Folsom or San Quentin, when they get to the yard, they know these old timers that are usually running the yard. Back then, it was a lot of old timers were running the yard. So they would get to a yard and they would get there, and this, dude that's been in prison for 30 years running the yard goes, "Oh, I know that dude. He's a good dude. Yeah. So they don't bother checking the paperwork. But all this stuff started happening during my time, where they started changing people that came from other states. They started having a database where all this stuff was coming out on these people. So you wouldn't know for a long time, and then all of a sudden it would come up. And then when the phones came in, it was over. You couldn't hide nothing.
Yeah,
but,
like they're all friendly with everybody. They're friendly with everybody, and they could be a cool person.
Another thing too, I want to say is that for all these people that are, all this stuff that's going on in the yards. Okay, so even though if it's a level 4 yard, it doesn't mean it could be really, really serious. It just depends on what yard you're at, who's running it, and how long it's been a level 4 yard.
Right.
Because you just don't. It takes a long time to get a yard situated. Every yard is different. I mean, all level 4 yards are dangerous. I'm going to just state that right now. But some of them are super dangerous, like High Desert C yard and D yard, New Folsom's yards. Kern Valley's yards, they're serious.
What's it like to go on the yard out there? What is it like? Like, have you seen some wild things happen on the yard? And can you explain the situation?
I have. I remember at Old Corcoran, I was working in the satellite kitchen at this time. I've only been this was my first level 4 yard, so I was only on the yard a couple years at this time. We were looking through the window because they lock you in the kitchen, in the dining hall. The table servers, at a certain time you go in there, they lock everybody in the dining hall. The cooks are in the back cooking, and we were just looking out the window. We seen these two Mexican guys start stabbing another Mexican. This went on for like 15 minutes, dude. Like, the cops were just not looking. It was during whatever was going on. I don't want to say 15 minutes, but at least usually a stabbing happens. Usually a stabbing happens pretty quick. You got like a couple minutes to do what you're going to, or a minute to do what you're going to do, and that's it. Somebody's going to see it. Somebody, one cop officer might see it and just like, not say anything. But one of the cops is going to see it. He's going to put the yard down. This went on for a long time. They ended up all the way from like the weight pile all the way to the other side of the yard where the bathrooms were at. They still weren't caught yet. After that, all 3 of them are over by the toilet trying to wash the blood off of them. Obviously the knife wasn't that big or the dude would have been dead. You know what I mean? But they probably stabbed him 27 times. Matter of fact, his name was Joker, I think. Yeah, that was a crazy one. Bartos could probably tell you a lot better ones. You've seen them all.
One of the best ones, talking about somebody where the guy got stabbed up. It was a 2-on-1 Hispanics. It was a Paisa, which is a border brother, which is the real Mexicans. They're, most of them can't even speak English, And this guy got stabbed up on the yard, stabbed in the neck, actually, covered up his thing, went all the way back to his cell, was able to get into his cell, go get his weapon, and went back out on the yard and then stabbed the 2 dudes that stabbed him. That was on C yard.
Did he live?
Yeah, he lived. Yeah, dude, and dude, that's gangster status right there. And when Chris was talking about the different yards and the levels of violence, or a lot of that, what it has to do with is the drugs. If the drugs are flowing and the drugs are coming in, they let a lot of things slide. Because, back then when you'd go on lockdowns, I mean, dude, the longest I've ever seen, I saw at one point at High Desert, the Southern Mexicans, they were on lockdown for like 18 months on a yard. That's a long fucking lockdown. Now you can stab a cop and they resume yard that afternoon. They don't even lock it down. They don't call it racing. They consider, they say it's an isolated incident, and stuff like that. They don't have long lockdowns anymore. But back then, when drugs weren't that easy to get in, the technology now has made that easier for them to be able to circumvent, security and stuff like that. So when they had a good flow of drugs going, they would let a lot of shit go to maintain that, because it was all about business. Then what would happen is other prisons, those guys would go to another prison and then they were labeled no good because they let that shit go.
Yeah. What type of stuff have you seen when people found out that people were no good? What kind of clever ways do they take care of these people?
There's nothing clever about it.
I mean, do they throw like boiling water on them?
No.
You hear about people getting lit on fire.
No, we didn't have anything. I never really saw any of that kind of stuff. I mean, once in a while somebody would get wind. Like, it was what happened sometimes is like, the guy would tell a cellie, hey, you need to get this guy in the house. He's no good. Well, this guy's like, man, I've been living with this dude for a long time. We become friends. I'm going home soon. I don't really want to do it. And then they both lock up, meaning that they both go SNY. They both go, look, man, I'm not whacking this dude. I don't want to do that. Sometimes somehow he'll get tipped up and he knows, and the guy goes to the COs before they can get to him and say, hey, I got to get off the yard. They found out I'm no good. I've got bad paperwork. And going back to the whole paperwork thing, man, I've seen it before where guys had jimmied paperwork from staff members, where there was some pretty high up people that would look out for someone. The guy would go, look, man, I'm good. I don't want to go SNY. I don't want to do that. But they give them paperwork to show that it wasn't their legit crime. And like, again,
they white out with that part, right?
Right. No, it was just like a whole different thing. Like, because most guys, when they come to prison, they've got several crimes. So they kind of show the paperwork that had like, well, armed robbery or this and that, not talking about, hey, you took the woman hostage and then her too. You know what I mean? Then like what Chris was saying, when technology came out, the big thing was like in reception back when we had that was when Megan's Law came out. So one dude would write a letter to his girl saying, hey, this guy Bob showed up. Can you check with Megan if he's any good? And the girl would come back and say, nah, Megan says that guy's no good.